What just might be the best color to use this time of the year, late February? Good morning, guys and girls. February 25. We're looking at 2 Corinthians 12:9. He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Ooh, that sounds kind of complicated, doesn't it? Well, it is a little complicated. Let's see what I wrote about that. One thing we have between us and the fish is our fishing line. By the way, I'm reading from our new Catch a Better Life book. This is a new daily devotional that I spent about 2 years writing. It's got a devotion for every single day of the year. It's got a fishing tip for every single day of the year and a scripture for every single day of the year. So not only are you going to improve your life big time, not only are you going to be a better person after just a few weeks of these daily devotions, but you're going to be a better fisherman as well. We post these every single morning, 5 o'clock Central Time on our Catch of the Day channel. So it's on YouTube, so you can go in there and subscribe to the Catch of the Day channel on YouTube. Also subscribe to our Jimmy Houston Outdoors YouTube. We also post these up on our Facebook page. We have over 600,000 people on our Facebook page. So I'll tell you what, it will make you a better person. Catch a better life, you will have a better life. Absolutely no doubt about it. Okay, here's what we wrote about this. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. One thing we have between us and the fish is our fishing line. It's only as strong as its weakest point. A nick or a rough spot can turn 15 to 20 pound test line into line half that size very, very easily. That tiny weakness, that tiny weakness in the line can cost us the fish of a lifetime. As we would say nowadays, our PB, our personal best. We have weaknesses in our lives. We have weaknesses in our bodies. We have weaknesses in our minds. Paul's weakness was physical. This is Paul that wrote this, the Apostle Paul. His weakness was physical. And he actually called it a thorn in his flesh. He talks about this in this same bunch of scriptures right here in Corinthians 7 through 10. He talks about this and he explains it as a thorn in his flesh. And here's what he did. Paul asked the Lord, he asked God himself to remove it 3 different times. 3 different times he asked God to remove that thorn in his flesh. But he was denied. God said, no, I'm not going to do it. No, you're just going to have to live with this. I'm not going to do it. But here's the deal. God gave him grace. God's favor and God's mercy, God's love and God's kindness gave Paul supernatural powers and strength to endure that weakness. He empowered him with so much, even though he didn't take away the thorn in his flesh, he empowered him with so much he was able to endure that weakness. God's power and his strength are on full display in our weaknesses. He says in this verse, my strength is made perfect in weakness. My strength is made perfect in weakness. We all go through trials and problems in life that we cannot handle on our own. Can I tell you, I've been going through that myself the last almost a year now. Trials and troubles and tribulations that I can't handle on my own. God's grace was sufficient to see Paul through it. His grace was sufficient to see him through it. Can I tell you, God's grace will empower you and me as well. God's grace will empower us to endure what we can't endure on our own, to what we're not man enough to handle. And let me tell you, there'll be things come. Don't care how big and tough you are, guys. There'll be things come that you're just not man enough to handle. You're just not woman enough to handle. It can only be handled through the strength of God. But here's the deal. God's willing to give you that strength through his grace, his mercy, his love, his favor. God's willing to do that. My grace is sufficient for you. That's really all you need. You don't really need anything else other than the grace of God. It was God himself that's talking to the Apostle Paul when he said, my grace is sufficient for you. Here's our tip for this week, and it's a good one. What colors might be the very best in late February? Those of you that said crawfish colors, you got it right. Crawfish colors, absolutely. They may be the very best in late February because crawfish are pretty scarce during the wintertime. So when they start showing up in abundance during the springtime, the bass really like to lunch on them. Really, really like to lunch on them. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. And remember, I sure do love you.